our partners can now kind of choose what do they want their business to be like, and how do I want to work with Rocket and in what regard, and kind of like plan for the future, right? Like that's been one of the really cool things over the past 14 months is really seeing, even in that small time period, our partners' businesses develop based on like their hopes and dreams and how Rocket helps them get there.
Welcome to Powerhouse, where we interview the biggest names in housing and ask them about their strategy for growth. I'm Diego Sanchez, president of HousingWire, and my guest today is Daniel Sogorka, GM of Rocket Pro at Rocket. Dan, it's so great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Diego. Great to be here. Good to see you again, man.
Yeah, likewise. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. It was a big year for Rocket and Rocket Pro. What innovations and changes are you most excited about as we head into 2026?
Oh man, a lot to think about there. We had a massive year. I'm about 14 months in, and I think I think we're like spring loaded and ready to go, right? Like we spent some time diving into the business, getting the team right, working on some foundational issues, and the things we dropped at RPX this year around our AI suite, I think are pretty amazing. And so it's been really exciting to spend the last 30 days out in the field with our partners using these tools in the wild and seeing their reactions. I think for a lot of people, it's their first time really experiencing AI tools in their hands that are making a real difference with how they work. And they can kind of connect the dots on like, oh, this is what the future is going to be like, right? There's been so much hype and so much stories, and AI is going to steal your job, and maybe it will, and maybe it won't. But I think people haven't had to really engage at scale with something that meaningfully changes the way they work. And I think when they start doing that, they get more excited because they're like, oh, this is the future. I can like 10x myself, not something I have to be afraid of, right? So that's what I'm kind of most excited about, at least in the past
Yeah,
month.
I love that. And we'll talk more about RPX in a moment, but let's dive into that AI tool set. What are the different AI tools that you've launched, and how do they help your broker partners 10x themselves?
Sure. So the two main tools are Navigate and Assist. And each of those has a number of apps, if you will, underneath them, which helps drive your day-to-day business. So I like to think of it as how do we make every broker as good as the best broker in the world? And so we really built this language model off of years of Rocket discussions between bankers and clients. So when you talk about kind of a mortgage enabled platform, this thing knows everything about mortgage. And so now when you come in, you can plan and schedule your day. You can drop in documents. You can find leads. You can figure out how to approach different types of people. You can figure out based on today's news, what should I talk about relative to specific products? Like just like massive amounts of content and data that allows you just to be much smarter at what you do. And we're already talking about experts in their field, right? But brokers are like anybody else in mortgage, and you've spent some time in this industry now. There are so many niches and verticals within mortgage. You can spend your whole career in it and not understand 90% of the playing field, right? Think about how many people you know that have been originators their whole career that know nothing about capital markets, or I'm in servicing. I really don't know anything about origination. Like there's a lot to learn, and the deeper you go, the more complex it is. So for the ability for brokers then to just be able to get smart about everything that maybe they haven't focused on and kind of expand the palette of what they can bring to the market, that's what these tools can do. So, and then, specifics, like let's take your loan estimate, your head to head with your company versus another company. You can drop both loan estimates into the engine and basically say, pick out 10 things here as to why my deal is better than this other deal, right? Or how do I reframe this around pricing and rate? How can I have a discussion with a 65-year-old woman who might not be comfortable talking about X, Y, or Z? And it really dials it into that exact specific. So that's kind of on the navigate. Like, how do you build your business? One of the great examples of this is like back to this, focused on your niche. Like, we have a ton of people that do purchase, but then they're not really good at doing the recapture because it's just not their business. They're going out and doing more purchase, and they're like, "Oh, I don't do that much. So what does that mean to me?" And so we say, "Okay, well, you do 3 deals a month on the purchase side, so that's 36 a year. So over the last 3 years, you've done 100 deals. Let's just drop them in and see what we learn, right? And boom, here's 20 clients that are in the money for rate and term. Here's how much they can save. Here's what you should say. Here's the order in which you should call them based upon kind of propensity to close. Like, and so, hey, just spend an hour a day now doing that each day, and you're going to double your business, right? So
So
crazy.
you're really empowering brokers with some of the tools that are being utilized by the big servicers in terms of recapture. Like, here's your ability to reach out very quickly to all of your borrowers that are in the money.
That's right. I mean, we're taking everything, from a Rocket perspective. It's like you start with, the branding, the enterprise tool set, the AI investment, all of those things, and putting it into the hands of our local broker partners, right? We think of this ecosystem as something that we want to extend to everybody in the United States as we, help everyone home, right? And so our partners are our boots on the ground sales force on every street in America. So why wouldn't we give them every tool for them to grow their business to the extent they want to, right?
I love that. So it's been in the news all year. Rocket did some big deals this year, some very big deals. But translate the Redfin acquisition and the Mr. Cooper acquisition into what it means for these boots on the ground that you have across the country, your broker partners at Rocket Pro.
Yeah, super exciting. Glad we got the last deal closed a couple of weeks ago. So it's been amazing now to be able to, sit in rooms in Detroit with these three teams together. Just the brain power and the knowledge base and kind of the desire is just been incredible, right? And so for me, it's been really special to be able to take, that deal thesis and apply it to the pro space, right? So when you think about what we have now as a company at Rocket, 65 million-ish unique monthly visitors to our digital website with high mortgage and high real estate intent rather. The largest, I would say, most efficient mortgage engine in the world, and then the largest, most efficient servicing platform in the world, which today, now with the Cooper acquisition, can be white labeled, right? They do white label servicing, which Rocket couldn't do. So when you think about what that means for our broker partners, it's like now we have this whole new category of home ownership that has those kind of three legs of the stool, and we can put all of them to work on behalf of our partners. Lead flow on the front end, the ability to we're known for being able to close at scale. So if you want to double, triple, 10x your business, Rocket's going to be able to handle that. Really consistent, really strong pricing, right? So all the things from a good counterparty perspective, and then the ability to service that loan if we want to with our partners face on the servicing statement, right? So really unique capabilities that we can bring to really change the way that market dynamic works, right? Where you can, our partners can now kind of choose what do they want their business to be like, and how do I want to work with Rocket and in what regard, and kind of like plan for the future, right? Like that's been one of the really cool things over the past 14 months is really seeing, even in that small time period, our partners' businesses develop based on like their hopes and dreams and how Rocket helps them get there. Whether it's a small shop that was like, man, I was just scraping by doing 2 deals a month. Now you're helping me do 10 deals a month. Like that's changed my life, right? And then the big guys who are like, I want to be, I want to have 1,500 LOs, and I can't do that without you, Rocket. And so, how can the tools and things that we can deliver help them in their model too? So, yeah, it's going to be 2026 is going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And I've heard so many mortgage C-suite leaders express excitement for the wholesale channel this year. It's been kind of amazing. Why do you think TPO has so much mojo right now?
It's a good question. I think, I mean, certainly when you see leaders like Rocket double down on something, what I've noticed is that people tend to follow, right? So you do have, this this mentality of like, well, if they're doing it, we should try to do it, right? And so I think we've seen, a bit of a copycat uh, move in the space where people have seen this. There's these two big players, and maybe I can just scrounge around at the bottom and pick up some scraps while they're kind of fighting it out, right? So I think it's kind of like those two dynamics where people are kind of trying to lean in and do it. And I also think, the space is growing, right? As brokers get more share of the overall market, obviously that piece of the pie becomes bigger, the other piece becomes smaller, and you want to be where the growth is.
Absolutely. So you talked about your RPX event when we opened this conversation, and you generated some real industry buzz with that event. Are you planning to do more Rocket Pro events for your broker partners in 2026?
Yeah, we're actually planning on doing a lot more. We're gonna RPX is going to be an annual event next year. I think it'll probably be 3 times as big as it was this year. We do a series of events around the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit, where we host the golf event. So we'll continue to do that. We're doing more individualized partner events because when people come to Detroit and see everything that Rocket's done for the city and how it's so different than what they thought, and to get to spend time to hear our story and dive in, like they kind of become raving fans. And so, like our larger partners ask us, like, hey, we're onboarding 50 new LOs. Like, when can we get them to Detroit? Because once we do that, we know the magic clicks and like they're Rocket for life, right? So we want to continue to do some of that, but we're also going to do things a little bit differently next year in that we're going to go across America in a lot of different ways and be in local communities, maybe where we haven't been before, and try to do events around the country. So I think it'll be, kind of like flagship events in Detroit, some customized stuff, more events around the country, and there's segments that have certain trade shows or certain things that they do where we might be under indexed from a partnership connection that we want to lean into more this year as well. So definitely we'll be out there even bigger than we were in 25.
Yeah, and I wonder if you have the opportunity to start to introduce your broker partners to some Redfin agents, since you now have boots on the ground on the real estate side as well.
Yeah, we do a ton of that with Redfin and with real estate agents all over the country. We do. We probably did about one event per month in 2025 where we kind of work with a real estate entity and then invite all of our local partners from that area to come in and mingle and hopefully meet and find good business partners. So we'll continue to do that as well.
So at RPX, you unveiled Rocket Pro's Broker Manifesto, which also generated some industry buzz. Could you walk me through the why behind this manifesto?
Yeah, I think, part of my goal when I came here was to really change the narrative around Rocket's role in the space. I felt like, when I dove in and spent time with the team and, kind of where their heads were at and what they were focused on, I felt like there was a story there that wasn't really being told accurately. And and so we wanted to put, some muscle behind that and really show that, the creative folks at Rocket, let's get them thinking about how to show up in the pro space and do some of the great work that they do. That really, I don't, no one else in the space can really talk. I think like how Rocket can talk. When we really feel strongly about something, and the creative talent we have, I just think the product is so differentiated. And so I was really excited to do that for the pro space. And really, we're just scratching the surface of what that is with the manifesto, and the way we want to show up and the way that we portray our partners, in the community and to the world.
Yeah, so let's dive in a little bit to some details there. How do you see the manifesto impacting day to day operations at Rocket Pro and how you show up for your broker partners?
It's honestly, we don't really have to change anything. This was more about telling people what we do, what we believe in every day, right? And putting it out there. And I think, again, I'm always surprised in a certain way when we engage with people, whether it's through something like the manifesto, or we had 100 credit unions and banks on site for a day and a half in Detroit a week and a half ago, and inevitably people always say, I had this perception of Rocket and it's so different, and I'm so glad I did this, and I can't wait to work with you. Right. Like it's just amazing how often that happens. And so I think, we're no longer going to take it for granted that we have to kind of shout that from the rooftops, because there's so many kind of hearts and minds still yet to change. And when we have people that maybe have worked with somebody else and they come over, or they haven't had a lot of exposure to us and then they do, it's just so gratifying because they're like so kind of amazed at the difference. So it's really fun. It's one of the
So
most fun parts of the job, frankly.
it sounds like you really view this as uncovering what was already there as opposed to a real shift in strategy or the way that you deal with your partners.
Yeah, I think on one hand, yes. On the other hand, it also enabled us to, like, set a high bar publicly, right? And then just have everybody, when you give somebody that as a team, when you give a team that high bar, it just feels like people are more fired up to do it, right? It's like, well, yeah, I worked hard every day, and maybe people see it or maybe they don't. But now when you set up and you're going to say, we're going to be 10 out of 10 every day, people are like, yeah, let's go, like, let's be 10 out of 10. So I think it's given us more energy. I think people were really proud to do it. I think for, the last couple of years, people felt maybe like, they weren't able to, like, fully show up, or felt like Rocket was holding back, and why aren't we doing X, Y, or Z? And so I think to go out and do that made the team more energized, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it felt to me like a very natural extension of the amazing campaign you did on the B2C side around the Super Bowl earlier this year, where you had these really touching and authentic ads, and then you went back to the stadium and people were still singing the song from the
Yeah.
ad. It was pretty incredible. And I feel like the manifesto, including the video that you have on the landing page for RPX and for the manifesto, like really captures that authentic sort of heartwarming spirit.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was just amazing work. And when I saw it for the first time, with kind of the taglines of, like, help everyone home and own the dream, I just felt like they were so perfect for Rocket Pro. right? I almost felt like they were better for Rocket Pro than they were just for Rocket, right? Because you just have this intersection of owning the dream, and our partners helping everyone home. They're actually doing the work. They're on the front lines with people. And then you think about small businesses in American communities, and trying to, make that more tight knit and keep more money in the community, and real estate agents working with local brokers, and then they're sponsoring the baseball team. You know what I mean? It's like all the positive things about America and home ownership are just so right in line with what we were talking about, and what we did and what our partners do every day, that it was a privilege to be involved with it.
Amazing. Yeah. So let's wrap with a question about your competition. We talked about the wholesale channel being hot earlier. In particular, you have two very tough competitors in PennyMac and UWM. PennyMac is really making a point of pushing into wholesale this year and next year. How do you at Rocket Pro compete and grow market share in 2026 when there are so many other lenders, including PennyMac and UWM, who want to do the same thing?
Good question. I think first off, when you talk about scale and technology and AI, we're pretty far ahead of the pack. I think when we're showing tools to people who work with those lenders and others, they're essentially like, no one is doing anything like this. Like, you are the only game in town. Then when you think about, the combination of Redfin, Rocket, and Mr. Cooper, Varun talks about it like we're a category of one. There's no one who has anywhere near those assets to bring together for our partners, right? And so we're really, 1 or 2 weeks into that. So very, very early stages in terms of kind of like unleashing that in the market at scale. And then I think the other thing is like, we're about broker choice, right? And I just think that's the winning strategy, which is, I'm going to give you tools. I'm going to be the best counterparty, but I want to earn your business every day. We at Pro, we have a slogan: earn the partnership, right? Like, it's just such an odd concept to me to be like, yeah, I'm going to lock you into doing business with me and not let you do business with somebody else. Like, I don't think that's the right strategy, right? So when I think about it, the market, I think we're kind of category of one in terms of capabilities and scale. I think we have the right model, and I think our heart's in the right place, right? I mean, we want to help everyone home. We want to help Americans get into home ownership. We're not trying to fight some stale battle against somebody. You know what I mean? And so I think when your heart's in the right place and you have the right tools and the right strategy, I think you're going to win.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. And Dan, it's been really great catching up with you today. We got a chance to talk pretty soon after you were hired by Rocket Pro, and it's pretty amazing to see all that you've accomplished over the past year, and also how excited you are about the strategy heading into 2026. Really appreciate the time today.
Thanks, Diego.